Good morning, all, and welcome to Tuesday. We're going to go on ahead and get cracking. I feel like this has been slowly creeping down. I can see my hair's a mess. Better. Not but better. All right. You know how this goes. Got work to do. So we're going to keep cracking on the drawing monitor over here. Now I'm thwarted by this, so weirdly, I don't know. Really shouldn't have been this hard. Good morning. But apparently it is. Really should do all of this as one unit like that, but it's easy to see. I know everything that's going on. It's time for QuaCk. It's time to QuaCk up. Not exactly sure why I can't just get it to be easily set up so that it won't be weird, but it this wouldn't be like this if there was just any way for me to do this without like all the weird. But even with all of the whatever, I feel like we could just probably make that work at the same line there. I mean, there's a couple of things that Blender did that it's one of those things that the most frustrating thing about Blender is that there are so many little teeny rules. There's so many things where I've got to remember you got to do this and not this, and don't click this button, and make sure you click these two buttons just to make the thing work. Because of course it's done by committee. It's an open source program, so it's totally a committee thing. And this guy thinks that we should do it one way, and this guy thinks we should do it another way, and you end up with these committees of things, which I'm normally not opposed to committees, but in this instance, it's such a mess. Everything is so weird. It's difficult to, and so it's really hard for people like me who don't do well on the whole pay attention to details part of the world. And so when I built this model yesterday, there are a couple of things we forgot, because it's been a week or two since I built a model. And one of them is that I accidentally double clicked on some of these building pieces, and now I've got multiple faces where they put a face in and then put another face on top of it. And so there's actually two faces. For UV mapping purposes, that's two different surfaces, even though you'll never see the bottom one. But since they exist in the same space, it looks like they're sitting there kind of doing this kind of shuffling thing where they get in front of one another. As you move the model around, they shuffle back and forth. So if you don't map both of them, you end up in the weirdest spots. It also complicates the model. The mesh is weirdly complicated when you do that. And I'm not really good at that. And I did that. And then, of course, then there's that is an actual problem with the program, which is the whole issue with these are both the same direction. I already tell we've got a problem. Anyway, the whole issue with it unwrapped it weird. So I'm back to projecting from view again, which is what we started with, but it wouldn't do the face of the saucer. It keeps projecting it from a forward projection. So these are correct, but then these get slightly more distorted until the picture is only this wide, which means that windows on the side of the saucer are going to end up being 4 pixels wide, which it will then stretch to put out there instead of being the correct aspect ratio. So the only way for me to get it to do what it did here, where it actually did the aspect ratio correctly, the only way to get it to do that is to do this unwrap thing and then go through and manually fix all of the weird errors that it came up with while unwrapping. It's just really strange. This is junk. We're not going to need that one. Along with this one, which is also going to be a problem, because now there's an engine in the way. It's just weird. It's strangely weird. Again, done by committee, and I get it. I mean, some of this is just weird because of committee, and I understand that. But... And I love working by committee, but this committee is they don't communicate very well. They're a bunch of people working over long distances and not communicating. They're communicating solely by email or whatever. And it's okay to do that as long as you are really diligent about your email. If you're not, just get me rotated 180 degrees. It's like everything in this world. There's nothing wrong with any one method of doing a thing. I'm usually on alert when someone starts saying X procedure is bad. Because no procedure is bad. It's what are your operations during that procedure? How are you operating? Like people who keep saying unions are bad, there's nothing wrong with unions. Unions are fine. If you've got corruption in your union, fix that. And don't blanket statement say unions are bad, because that leads us to the other problem, which is without unions, people are forced to work hours that are ridiculous or whatever. It's not a positive thing either. You don't want that. Generally, I feel like people who think unions are bad are people who want companies to be able to do that. It sets off warning bells for me. I've had that argument today, by the way. I do agree. Unions are corrupt, and that's totally understandable. I get that. But the only power an employee has is for everybody to walk out, not just one employee. And that requires coordination. And if that's not allowed, then nothing ever, no employee walks out, and then it doesn't matter. One employee walking out on some place is pointless. All the employees walking out causes a change in the company. Procedure for facing is okay, but the procedure for coloring is better. I'm not sure I know what that means. I think we're talking about a different thing or something. Oh. I'm like, I just didn't understand you. You're like, well, that didn't work. I tried to troll, it didn't work. Yikes. Yep. Well, I appreciate you trying to troll me, even if it fell short. It's funny how in our culture, trolling each other is a sign of affection. And it's not even just our culture. They were talking about that. We were talking about that when I was in Japan. We were talking about how that's a sign of affection in Japan too. It's like trolling each other. That's what we do. Weird but true. All right. These aren't the same. Tail. It is. All right. No missing pieces. All right, good. Got the tail figured out. Just need to get the tail scaled. If you're wondering, I'm kind of wanting to take a little bit of a break from actual physical hand drawing for a little bit here. I did a lot of hand drawing and then did drawings yesterday for the con, and I'm just wanting to do something a little, kind of wash my brain out a little bit there for it. Not that I don't have any problem with it or anything like that, just taking a break. So we will get to all of the other things that are on my to-do list, and goodness knows I have a lot of them. Dock this in right here. Trying to decide whether I should just turn it sideways and stick it out the side. I probably should do it this way. That probably is our best and wisest bet. You know, I figured there wasn't any real major problems, but I figured I would explain myself anyway. All right. They are on the correct side. Well, only shocked. Now we will scale it to the correct size, because of course it's now completely out of scale. The only way to tell whether it's in scale or not is that. Because it'll be slightly larger than these two right here. Just a little bit larger. Right? That's that top piece right there. That was the entire reason we went through all of this horrible machination. I'm not liking this. I think it's backwards. Like it inverted it. It did. It inverted this entire ring. Oh, man. Now, you. So these two now belong on this side, and these two belong on this side. The music does sort of feel like I'm doing the CSI stuff right now. Really fits. What's he working on? The CSI project again. Because that fits right there. And this guy fits right here. So that should look like this. And we have a missing spot, which is you. I don't even know where you are. Always nice. No. All right, so this is playing the game of which plane should this be connected to. I think this should be connected to this plane. Like so. I'm gonna scale it up just a smidge. Now, what really needs to happen is you two need to be moved out just a hair, like so. So that this can be scaled up properly. Connect. Oh yeah, do that. You also still be working kind of from home-ish on that one? In other words, you may not be on the show on Thursday because you may be in interview land. That's fine. Office is fine. You can still put me in your ear. You don't have to stay with us. We love having you, but we absolutely love having you. You do not have to stay with us. There we go. Do the same thing over here. Same problem is existing over here as before. And we got the same problem. This guy doesn't exist. That's weird. I'm always like, I'll make unwrapping easy. I'll figure out a new way that makes this simple, and it's never simple ever. It's always a pain in the ass. I mean, once it's done, it's done. So that's always a plus. We will always need Commonwealth destroyers. That's how you'll know that there's a bad guy, right? I mean, these are our bad guys. So we will always need Commonwealth destroyers. It's worth the time. Unlike that freighter, I'm literally going to hand draw the freighter when we get to that stage in the story, because there's no point. It's one freighter for probably one scene. And we're never going to see the freighter again. It's going to be a different freighter the next time. So I don't need that. We don't need to do this. But a Commonwealth destroyer, I'm going to see her a lot. I'm going to see these guys all the time. These are my Klingons for the story. So I know that I'm going to need these guys a lot. So these are worth it for the time. Not only that, I've been thinking about redoing the champion. So when I do, I was actually thinking of having the champion be an older man. Who happens to be on a destroyer, a Commonwealth destroyer. That's not the right spot. And so I've been thinking about that, and in doing so, close. That's close enough. I think we're fine. All right. So, in doing so, the Commonwealth destroyer can have. We can bring her back again for another round. So. I don't know why I feel like I need to justify making these things. I just proved just fine that everything works. Sometimes I think I feel like I need to justify my weird comic book making. However, when really honestly, the very first comic book rattled out in 40 days, that's still a great speed for a first book. So really don't know what I'm defending or why I feel like I need to defend it. I do. Okay, who's left over here? Oh, bridge. Damn it, there are still random double lines. These things are double lines. They just need to be killed. Ugh. Okay. These two we know are correct, so the bridge needs to be still done. And this under unit right here probably just be pulled over, but it still did the weird horseshoe strange wrap around, and I'm almost tempted to just say it's better than nothing, and I'll see what a cylinder projection looks like on it. Yeah. So you can see what the problem is. They should be the same width all the way across. No, actually, I don't. It's not you. I mean, we can happily and blissfully blame you all day long, but the truth is it's not. It's never been you on this one. And what I feel like I need to justify to you is my time usage, which is appropriate and exactly what I've asked you to do for me. So that I don't have any issue with. That's exactly what I told you to do. So we are good there. But I do feel weirdly like, well, no, I guess it is kind of, because it is time issue. That's part of our problem, is that there's, I don't want to waste time on this. But on the flip side, especially since once these things are done, man, it is a one-step process to just get this to work. That's so nice. Alrighty. Besides, I know if I can explain what we're doing, we've never been unreasonable about time management, so I'm not worried. So let's just go reading and I will just roll it around. Make sure they're the right. Some of these are the right size. I feel like they're too big. All of my starships have wings. I love that. Alrighty. Where's the rest of this? Oh, that's the bridge. Okay, so the bridge unit. Look at the unit on that bridge. Anyway. Alright. This should be relatively easy. Projection view. Rest of this. Nope, because we've got these guys. Oh, the butt. All right. Everything else here looks like double lines. Nope, there's a top. Double lines are where I've taken it and accidentally created another set of faces. I can just delete those and the model is still intact, hopefully. But no longer has those duplicate faces. It may mean that this is not as watertight, and we may have to figure out how to tighten up the watertightness of it. If we ever want to print it, that might be an issue. Let's see. Do the bridge deck, which isn't really the bridge deck because the bridge is actually right under here, because like all good starships in Bellatrix Rising, none of them have a bridge that's exposed. This is their pilot house. So the point here is it's the pilot house. But the build concept for the starships in the Unity is that they build with a pilot house on the nose, and the build concepts for starships in the Commonwealth have the pilot house mounted on top. Flip you around. Nope, these are not that way. That's not what these are for. Alrighty. Look what it looks like on top of Old Smoky here. So you'll notice that I'm working very hard to make sure everything is roughly scaled the right size. And the reason behind that is that when we build this model out on the actual work thing, we want all the lines to be the same width. And if you make part of the map huge and part of the map, if these were the same size on the map, and then you scale them like this on the UV map, and then draw a 20-point line here and a 20-point line here, because of the size difference, when it's actually wrapped around there, you'll have a huge line that gets really small as it moves to the other side, because it'll be scaled differently on the UV map. So we want the maps to be lined up as much as possible. Also, I'm noticing that the fin can be turned and buy us some space. Right, because if it's lined up with this guy down here, you can buy a little bit of space. Right. Actually, I can probably do more like this. And even though that opens up this space and this space, we get a little bit more room to that stuff. We're going to have to put the engine in here too, because the engine needs to be mapped on this as well. So, and these butt engines are the butt pieces need to be scaled to the correct size, which is right here. These two can go in here too. And these two are just the connector pods for the engine pods. And they need to be mapped, but it's not a big deal. Now we can take this entire unit and put it here, expand it until it's the size of the map. And now what I can also do with this to ensure that it all works well, right, move all these guys over like so, and then it's all nice and lined up. And now I can take these pieces right here and maybe rotate it. I don't know if this will help any. Not really. I want to keep all these pieces in the same general concept area. But I can now move these a little closer together. So, and we just bought ourselves a little bit more space, right? This is how you efficiently UV map something. The bigger it is, the more detail you can add to something. And it allows us to do this, take this guy and put him here. It's still buying us some more space. And the reason that's useful is because ultimately, at some point, we could probably take this entire zone through here. And we'll need to know at some point, but we got to fix these engines in first. So the engines go in next. We've done one side of it though. That's good. So I'm going to save it. Once the engines are in, we're in like Flynn. We're done. We learned a lot doing the kitty wake. This ship's not landing compatible. Here is our destroyer. In fact, I think I should remap the destroyer while I'm at it, because we do have 3 Unity destroyers, 1 Commonwealth destroyer in the next book. So we need these guys in for this. This should be relatively easy, I think. It's almost slightly weirdly designed. And what we can do is probably turn off that one and see that we've made a mistake. We have made the mistake. There we go. Why are we sharing this particular piece? There we go. Not you two. No, not you two. All right. Red hot intercoolers. Get your red hot intercoolers here. Piping hot. Technology between the two is not that much different between the Commonwealth and the Unity. Naturally, it won't be that different, but it does have some interesting fundamental, like, aesthetic changes. And the primary differences between the Commonwealth and the Unity is that the Commonwealth is not going to be as big on having groups put things together. They're going to be the highest bidder sort of situations. So, making my hands not the most comfortable way to do this. Really? Okay, fine. Mm-mm. All right. We'll bring all the rest of these guys in. The object mode, and we'll do this. Now that we've done that, we can decide what pieces go where. These are wing tip or engine tip, so these are actually roughly the correct size. That's nice to know. This guy's not. All right. Here we are kind of doing these more. I can make this into a square, the more we can increase the size in general. What I'm going to do now, general size of this map. In fact, if I were just willing to take this piece right here and move it like to over here, like so. a big fin on the back. Boy, that is difficult to negotiate. The three largest elements of the starship are the forward dish, half dish, and that fin on the back. Yeah, I feel like there's just nothing I can do with these elements in here any tighter. certainly one of the big things we can do. Is push this part, put it over here. Like that. Maybe even this guy. The wings over there too. I'm going to rotate this guy just a little bit. This is why UV mapping is something that you just don't do well. But for the life of me, I can't figure out why. The rules that I'm doing here are pretty straightforward. Not like it's super hard to figure out what I'm doing. It'd almost be useful, more useful, for them to, instead of putting seams in, identifying elements, like select all the pieces that make one element. Maybe that's just easy for me because what I'm building is always machines. So maybe that's the whole thing. But now the machine is mapped. It took a long time for us to do that. We got it. So now what we can do is export the UV layout, ships Blender files. I call this we're going to make sure we click all UVs because by default it does not export all UVs. And I don't know why it just exports the one that's selected, because every time I export a UV map, all I want is one panel naturally. And on the contrary, we're going to now go over and do this, where we go into object mode, select you, and then say export as a wavefront. And on the flip side, we're going to limit to the selection only. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Export object. This one, export wavefront object. All right. I understand. I will select you. Don't think I won't select you. Don't make me turn this computer around. Not you. All right. First things first. First thing I want to do is this. This makes for the easiest way to do this. And I just say, outline selection, and we're going to draw on the border. The reason we draw on the border, by the way, is, let's see what that does. Reason we draw on the border, so they're going to be mostly human based, and the reason is because they're somewhat xenophobic. So there will be a few other races there, but the Commonwealth will tend to treat them slightly poorly. Right? I mean, I knew you weren't wrong about the SSD. I also knew that it was an expense. You had to pay for that. SSD somehow. Yeah, it's going to be very similar to the Empire and Stone. You know, I never thought of that, but you're right. In fact, now that you mention it, it's super creepy. Now I can't stop thinking about it. Yeah, I know. And of course, the way that they're going to say it is that, of course, other species are welcome in the Commonwealth. They just need to fill out all this paperwork in triplicate, and make sure that everything is. And they're going to have to submit to a background check, and they're going to have to go through all of this rigmarole, and be watched for a couple of months or maybe a couple of years. They have to be watched by the government, so that to be sure that nobody is that they're not any kind of, there's no trouble going on, and which they don't do to humans naturally. Music just decided it's done. It's done being music. We're done musicking. No more music. That's just to mark where the center line is. Yeah, music just wanted to die. I'm done. I'm done. I'm out. I thought they didn't line up. Yeah. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. It should give us enough to get started. Okay. And it's good because we got just a few minutes here before we're gonna have to save as. I'll go out to ships textures. O1. Now we should be able to import, not from here, not from there, not from anywhere. Raising ships, ship blender files, common all, accept. There's our common. I'm already not liking it, folks. Worried that we may have some serious issues with it. We'll see. Shaping. Surfaces. Stop being weird. Stop being weird. Browse. No, not this. And make you white. Make you black. Gray. 50%. There we go. Getting started anyway. Oh, we forgot to do the other half of the saucer up here, but at least we now know those saucer dots work. So that's fine. That's fine. Should be fine. We haven't added the armaments yet, but we will. Because the armaments are a different critter. All right, everything looks good there. Looks good there. Okay, we're starting. Missed a couple of small pieces, but nothing major. Okay, so let's go ahead and import. Same thing. Inner engine. Accept. Outer engine. Accept. Top view. Snap right on. And for you, we need to do the bone thing. So we'll do a joint editor. This is putting the pivot of the outer engine right here so that the outer engine can do like they're supposed to for in space, where they pivot out and then generate the grids. Let's do surfaces, shaping. Actually, it just needs to be the same critter. To map the inner engine. All right. This is no. And outer engine should rotate correctly. They do. Wow, they go kind of wild on that, but that's all right. That's where they're supposed to go to. So 51 degrees. 40 degrees? No, 51 degrees. All right. And we have a Commonwealth destroyer now at in Space World. There you go. Look at that. What, the in-space engines? All in-space engines stretch out. So that's what they do. Even our dear beloved QuaCk. How big she is comparatively speaking. She's quite huge. Yeah, she's massive. Okay. That's probably the wrong scale. So we'll take her out here. No, just delete them. Anyway, let's try destroyers. The Unity destroyer should be. There we go. That's the scale we want to be at. Because that's a Unity destroyer. So let's go for the top view. Because this guy should be about the same size as the destroyer. Same size. That's the same critter. Rotate it 180 degrees so that you face the same direction. And I think that's the same size. We'll make. One of the things we're going to do in this next group of things is come up with scales. So we'll have the big scale, the little scale, and then so there'll be human scale, and then there'll be the, I don't know, small detail scale, and then there'll be the larger detail scale, and we'll just figure out what that all means. So these guys should be in the same scale, but I think actually the Commonwealth destroyer is probably slightly larger. The destroyers have, both destroyers have fighter launch bays. So we'll also, I haven't decided whether I'm going to have Commonwealth fighters or not. We'll have to see. But I do think that I might have the Mustangs, which is a Unity fighter. So we might be deploying Mustangs. When the Unity shows up at the end of the comic, the end of this episode, the Unity is going to show up with a couple of destroyers, and I think what will probably happen is they'll deploy Mustangs, and so we may have to make some Mustangs, which is not a big deal. But these two ports back here are fighter based. So there we go, guys. We have completed a task for today that makes me happy. Yeah, I feel like the front saucer here is the same as the hammerheads on a let's adjust that, because I think this is going to dictate the size, because it doesn't have to be as long, but I feel like it's inside. Make this the scale, the width of the gravity pontoon, the gravity port. There. That's the same, because then the ports are the same. It does make volume for volume. It makes the Unity destroyers seem larger. However, there are some things to think about. Unity destroyers have to have environments for just seeing, and they don't have to make that way for the Commonwealth destroyers, because, like I said, they're somewhat xenophobic. So nobody has to make the Commonwealth destroyers don't have to be. They don't have to work for the just seem. I'll fold the in-space drives back in. If you look here, these guys have in-space drives too. They just open like this. This engine's upside down. Anybody notice this engine's upside down? There we go. And it's poorly assembled. No, it's not upside down. What the heck is going on to this engine part? That's upside down, guys. Weird. There we go. That's what it should be. And that means that you are completely off center. Okay, well, we'll fix it. At some point, we're going to have to get in here and fix the destroyers anyway. But that's a day's worth of work. It's not a week's worth of work now. So we just have one day that needs to be dinked with. We're going to be in here messing with destroyers. And I may go through and remap the hull, because it looks like it's a little off scale from this scale. The other thing is, at a different scale, we will have a different line width on all of this. So it's going to be different on all of that. So what's going to happen is I'm going to make a different line width scale for the Corvette. So these will be destroyer scale, where the destroyers are all the same size. And when we do, we'll have a kitty-wake version that's the same scale, and the map will be the same scale. So when the kitty-wake is in this flight, or any other Corvettes in this picture, they're not going to have the detail level, because if we do, it'll look weird. because the QuaCk will look all really tiny and squished. Yeah, I might want to remodel this destroyer, because this destroyer didn't take so long to remodel. Put that back down. All right, and now we have a Commonwealth destroyer versus a Unity destroyer. Let's see that. We now know what to say with these vessels. Okay, I'm out. I will see you tonight. Bye, guys. Bye, friends. Yeah, just go over and clean it. We'll be fine. See you later. Bye-bye.